Welcome to Nerd Social. I'm Nathan.
I'm John.
And I'm Colin.
Hey everyone, so we're going to continue our conversation about WandaVision Episode 7. If you missed the first part of our conversation, the link is above. So we're going to delve into our theories about the episode. So if you don't want to be spoiled because we might predict something that's going to happen, you should probably just stick to the Easter egg video or the previous video. But full spoilers ahead as we start talking. So guys, what do you want to delve into first?
Well, we go right into Pietro first. The mid-credit scene where he shows up. He's got the purple eyes, and the purple eyes indicate he's under the spell or control of Agatha Harkness, right? And what does that mean? So some speculation. Is it still Pietro? Is it really him, or is it somebody that is made to look like him, that Agatha has brought to be an agent for her? It just reminds me of when Hawkeye was under the spell of Loki in the Avengers, the original Avengers movie. So it's very possible that he really is Pietro from another universe, that he's there and under the spell and control of Agatha. And it looks like Wanda is now under the spell because her eyes flash purple as well. So is she she's clearly under the influence, perhaps had been under the influence all this time. But again, I think it's still the Pietro from another universe, and I think they are trying to set up what we think is going to be mutants in this universe.
For me, I think that the thing that I looked out for was what's going to happen with Vision, because the last time we saw him was he's now trying to make his way to see Wanda, and they didn't get off to be in very good terms when we last saw them together. Kind of still a lot of friction between the both of them, and the fact that he was almost torn apart from the field. Now, what is his mindset? What is he thinking about now? And, are they going to kiss and make up because of what Darcy said to Vision about how they almost have a very perfect love life and perfect romantic marriage? So very interesting to see what would happen with their relationship moving forward, because again, they didn't leave on the best of terms when in the previous two episodes. And what will also happen with the kids? Are they going to grow up? Because we didn't really see what happened with the kids. They left their sandwiches on the table and one went down into the basement, but we didn't see the kids. So are the kids in danger? Are the kids all grown up? Or are they some sort of, again, demon spawn that Pietro was talking about in the Halloween episode? So my kind of speculation is based on what will happen to Vision, what will happen with the kids going forward.
Yeah, definitely a lot of things to think about with Vision and Wanda's relationship. So Vision and Darcy assumed that Wanda was trying to stop them from getting back home. But given how the episode ended, it's up in the air whether or not it was Wanda or it was Agnes who was stopping them from getting home. Because if you go back to the scene that was in the previous episode and also the cut scene that we saw during Agnes's theme song, it seems that she's been constantly trying to get Vision to either leave or distrust Wanda so she could have Wanda to herself. So maybe she wants to be further away from Wanda because she wants Wanda to be alone so she can siphon her power. I still think what was probably off about my interpretation of what was going on last week is that I said that someone was trying to siphon Wanda's power, and again, it made me think that Pietro was a henchman of this third person. But like you said, Colin, simplifying the narrative, having a third person that we've never seen makes no sense. And having Pietro be basically the henchman of Agatha makes the most sense. And she's still trying to siphon Wanda's power, it seems.
So she's the shark in the
she's the shark in the commercial. Yeah,
got it.
It does seem that way because all the examples of powers leading up to the reveal of Agatha, it seems like we saw glimpses of Wanda losing her powers or losing control of her powers. Things were snapping back to the older version of itself or different older decade, including the sword mobile that they try to cram right into the head. Only half of it went through, and it came back as an old pickup truck or something like that, or a piece of it. So I was trying to figure out what the heck's going on. Why is everything so, turning into old things again? Is she losing her powers? Is she losing control of it? So it looks like she's the shark.
So before the reveal at the very end, My assumption was that she expanded the borders of the hex too wide, so it was just too much for her to control. And that's why she started to lose control of the environment. And it was just, we already saw in the previous episode, under the old borders, she couldn't control everyone out at the edges, right? She just had them in like a stasis because further away where she isn't controlling them.
True.
Then she made the borders even larger. Before the Agnes reveal at the end, my assumption was that, okay, this is just way too much for anyone to try to manage at the same time. So she can't even control what time period she's in right now. But what we saw at the end was that Agnes, one of the cutscenes of Agnes messing with things, where it was the most recent one for this episode, right? And apparently Wanda couldn't see it, but Agnes was in the director's chair. That was the director's chair.
She was the voice.
Yeah. So it's possible that she's been the director all along. I mean, the first thing that they show in that clip is her showing up with the plant. But it's unclear whether or not that's the first time she actually showed up. It's just the first time. That's the first clip that they showed of her transforming herself into the nosy neighbor. But it's possible. It's possible she was responsible for creating this in the first place. Like, because Wanda has said over 2 episodes now that she doesn't know how this started. She's just maintaining it, right? She didn't start it. She's just living in it, right? So and I think she's been telling the truth. Not only now, and actually, the conversation that she had with Pietro takes on a different color now that we know that Pietro is at the very least an agent of Agatha. I think maybe Agatha doesn't know how it started either. Now that I'm thinking about it, so maybe Agatha didn't start it. Maybe that was the first time she showed up. So maybe there's yet another shoe to drop about how this started, because Wanda doesn't know, and Agatha sent Pietro to pump Wanda for information because she doesn't know. So
there could be another type of a bigger threat that's out there, and that's very typical of how Marvel kind of structure their stories. Is there's always that kind of more direct threat, and then there's like the boss, and then there's like the big boss that's out there. So we've speculated Mephisto being the big boss that's out there, who's really the one that's controlling it, and maybe the boss of Agatha at the same time. So there's always that setup of maybe Agatha is more the anti-hero later on. We get into Doctor Strange 2. She's going to be the one that's going to be aligned with Wanda and Doctor Strange to fight this bigger threat that is happening in the movie. So that kind of aligns with what Marvel has done with its stories in the past. So again, very formulaic, very predictable, but in its own right. But it's also very entertaining. It's been very successful for them. So why not just make something that's it's not broken already? So just keep going with the same formula.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to make her an anti-hero, because I think they could make her. Everything that she did was fine. For everything that she did, they showed that she did was something that you could come back from, until she said, when at the end she said that I killed the dog too. No, I think they put that there so to show that she's evil. She killed a dog, and then she started cackling about it. It's like, and the writers again in this show are brilliant, because I think that was a nod to like the Wicked Witch of the West and the Wizard of Oz. Like, I'm gonna get you and your little dog too. So she's a witch. They also do a nod to Hansel and Gretel, the witch in Hansel and Gretel, when she said, "I did bite a child once." So all those things that they peppered into the script is just funny.
Well, I mean, the other thing is that I would say that Loki was a villain as well. He killed many people kind of off screen.
This is true.
So you never know whether or not they can be redeemed. And even with Eric Killmonger, who is very evil in its own right, but maybe try to give some sophistication and nuance and gray area to all of the characters. I mean, there are some instances where Agatha was kind of grayish like that, like when she was interacting with Herb and Vision, I think in that 1970 scene, Brady Bunch scene, I mean, it seems as though there was some vulnerability to her. And, the witch scene with Vision as well, yes, maybe we are being very gullible and stuff, but there's some type of vulnerability and humanity there in her. And she may not be the one that is pulling all the strings, even though she's pulling the strings right now. She might not be the one. They might be, again, like I said, a grayer threat that's out there.
No, unless it's a bit of a tug of war. Maybe she got ensnared within Wanda and Wanda's powers, not only enamored by her powers, but she doesn't realize how powerful she really is. And in siphoning, like the shark, what that's signifying. And she is using whatever she can to influence her. She perhaps can put her under a spell just long enough to be able to do what she wants, to siphon that power. She wants that power. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, Wanda is probably much more powerful than she really is, or than she is. Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I hope that they, to your point, Colin, I hope that they actually write her with more nuance so you can actually understand her point of view. That said, Marvel has written two-dimensional villains before. Yes. As the movies have progressed, they have given them more character, and they're not just mustache twirling. Which is why I was saying, okay, they're giving Hayward some nuance here, in that he's probably traumatized by the blip. So I hope they add additional dimensions to Agnes, so we understand her motivations better in the next episode. Because even with her scene with Herb, I think that was manipulation, just like her in the car, because they showed her touching Herb to make him glitch the way that he did. She obviously made him glitch the way that she did to get Vision to suspect something was wrong. So that's why she did that. So that means that whole scene with Vision at the end of the episode, where she's like, "Oh, there's something that I don't want you to know, and I'm afraid." It was her acting. She's putting on a show for Vision to make him suspicious. So I hope that there's another aspect to her plan besides her just being an evil witch who kills dogs and possibly eats children. Because we don't know where Billy and Tommy are still.
Right.
So,
but I'm just thinking, maybe, if we go back to the previous episode's commercial, where if Agatha is the shark and the kids are actually the kid that's stranded on the island, that might be very, very disturbing, and it might foreshadow what would happen to the kids. That would probably lead to Wanda being going off the deep end, because she probably would find out that her children is in danger. So that commercial might mean the kids starving to death.
Yeah, there's definitely speculation online that the kid was actually Billy with his magical powers, which might lead to the fact that, might lead to the revelation that Agatha's whole plan was for her to have those kids with the assumption that one of them would have magical powers, so she could consume that child whole. So maybe she wants to consume Billy and his powers. So
I think that
you can't control them.
Yeah, and then I think that commercial is really we're going to look back on that commercial and really be almost one of the turning points of the whole series, because up until then, all the commercials have been, for the most part, dealing with Wanda's past, and that was pretty much, when we first saw it, we were like, what the heck is going on here? What is this all about? And I know that you, Nathan, had a very solid theory about what's going on, but I think we'll look back on that commercial being one of the turning points or inflection points of the whole series.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll see. I guess next week we only have 2 episodes left, so I hope some of these episodes are longer longer than the 38 minutes this episode was. So let's see. What I want to make sure we cover everything that we have here. Hayward's plan. Yeah, Hayward's plan. I don't know what do you think Hayward's plan is here? Because as we discussed in the previous video, Hayward, Jimmy and Monica seem to think that Hayward was unsuccessful in activating Vision, and it seems like he was, but he was obviously able to glean something. So what do you think is going to show up? You think he's going to have Ultrons show up? You think he's going to have Sentinels show up? People think that he's building Sentinels.
I think it's pretty much that he just wants him back. I think that that's just the main objective of Hayward is acting like this because, again, like what I said in previous videos about sentient weapon is pretty much Vision. Is their sentient weapon, is their number one kind of experimental unit. And so his objective is just trying to get him back. And then from that point on, we wouldn't know what's going to happen moving forward when he gets him back. So it's almost in some ways kind of what happened to the Hulk back in the early days of Marvel, where Thunderbolt Ross was actually chasing the Hulk because he was such a weapon. And I think that Hayward is kind of like that type of Thunderbolt Ross character where they're trying to chase after him to try to gain more power in some ways. But we don't know what the deeper intentions of that is. He might just be another pawn in the whole large scheme of things of fulfilling a certain mission. And that's pretty much what his role is.
Yeah, I don't have a clue as to where he's going. I know that the characters speculate that he wants to just nuke the Hex or nuke that city or something. What? I don't think that's it, because obviously he still wants Vision in some way. Yeah. But what he wants it for, I'm sure it's somehow tied to when he said, you don't know what it was like to try to keep the lights on when when the blip happened, right? So that obviously plays into it somehow, but how, I have no idea. I know it's tied, but I can't even begin to speculate. It's perhaps it has to do with some kind of space threat, because that's what caused the blip. It was Thanos all along. To have that weapon to fight against another Thanos level threat, in what way, using Vision, I don't know. Maybe it will spur the return of Ultron in some way.
I mean,
that's the only speculation.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to point out is that with Marvel, again, in the past, these type of character, like the human characters, the non-hero characters, they seem to have, their objectives seem to be much more Earth-based. It's not, and also Earth-based in terms of dealing with threats, like you said, John, dealing with those really big threats that's out there. So, for example, if you go back to the Avengers, they were, the Hulk was saying, why are you creating weapons of mass destruction? He was so adamant about why that was the case, and Nick Fury was basically saying it's because of Thor, because of the threats of Thor, and also the Destroyer coming down to destroy a town. And so I think that Hayward kind of fits that type of mode where they're trying to come up with some countermeasures against those bigger threats in the MCU. But it's kind of, again, kind of anti-superhero. We don't need the superheroes. We can deal with it ourselves, but we want it under our terms. We don't want superheroes being like going out there being free radicals. We want them under our control, and I think that you'll see a lot more of that in the next Marvel series, Falcon Winter Soldier. That kind of dynamic between the heroes that are more independent, whereas there's the government-sponsored or the authoritarian-sponsored heroes that they want to have.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a story that they could probably get a lot of juice out of, even though they've told that story in various ways several times already, right? As you said, the first time they told that story was in Avengers. Nick Fury says that they were experimenting on the Tesseract because of Thor. They told that story again in Captain America: Civil War. They told it from two ends of the spectrum, right? They had the entire international community was afraid of these superpowered individuals, so they created the Sokovia Accords. And Zemo
Right.
was was concerned about these superpowered individuals because they basically dropped the Sokovia. The entire country of Sokovia was destroyed because of because of their actions. Now the entire world would have been destroyed if they didn't take action, but still. So they're I can understand them telling the story in different ways over and over again, because you have to imagine that they started this whole series in a world that looked very similar to our own, and you can think how our people in our world would react to superpowered individuals running around. They would feel, an ordinary person who has no powers would feel that their life is very precarious and very at the whim of things way out of their control. Now, I mean, so they would use everything in their power to create countermeasures to combat those things, and it was sort of what Tony did as well. I mean, I guess they told that story 3 times now, because Tony again doesn't have superpowers. So, but he was afraid of the visions, the idea of someone taking over or something coming and taking over the planet. So that's why he created Ultron. So yeah, they're I think that's going to continue to pop up, and I think and even though it's the same story over and over again, it's an understandable story, and the need for it is going to just become more and more understandable as the threats get bigger and bigger. I mean, Hayward is living in a world where half of the population of the entire universe was blipped away. I mean, what if the Avengers don't come through the next time? You gotta come up with some sort of measure to protect the planet, right? Or existence. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that we covered everything, but we really want to know what you think. Did we miss anything that was interesting? Do you agree with any of our theories? Comment down below, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.